Good morning. It is Thanksgiving morning. So a happy Thanksgiving. The video today, I'm just going to go through some of the things that we talked about in class on Wednesday. There weren't very many people there, so just to catch everybody else up. We didn't really talk much about the forms themselves. We pretty much got those in hand at this point. You know all 8, and I've made a video on all 8, so I won't go through the forms, but I'd like to talk a little bit about how to practice to get better at the forms, to get it feeling more natural, to get it feeling less mechanical and more flowing. What we eventually want to get to is where we're not thinking about the forms anymore and thinking about where our feet go and what our hands do and where our arms go. We want to feel that in the body. Once we can embody that, then it becomes much easier to learn other things and it carries over much better into your day-to-day life. So, a couple of things about practice. First of all, repetition. It takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of repetitions for some of these movements to feel natural. Some of the movements kind of flow better than others, and some of them not so much. The way to get around that is to just do them over and over and over again. That's the same with the balance exercises, our tandem step. A lot of you have already noticed that that's not nearly as difficult to do as it was in week 1. And it's because we do it over and over and over again. And if you're practicing at home, so much the better. You're multiplying the benefits. So a little bit every day is better than a whole lot once a week. So practicing repetitions. Some of those are very easy, like when we're doing waving hands like clouds. We can do the movement and then we can come right back and move the other way. And that way, that side step itself becomes a little more consistent. The hand motion becomes a little more natural and intuitive. You can just take it back and forth. Some of the movements don't lend themselves quite as well to that because you're moving forward and backward in space. So when we're parting the horse's mane, after we've done the second one, all of a sudden we're, 4 feet forward. And if we're in a small space, maybe it's not easy to step out and do another one. A couple of ways around that. You can just kind of rewind it and walk back. One of the things that in the regular Tai Chi set, fending off the monkey is done walking backwards. So you might want to just take that kind of flowing version of fending off the monkey, do your steps forward with brush knee, with Fair Lady works the shuttle, to some extent with grasping the peacock's tail and certainly parting the horse's mane. Get yourself, your forward, and then just flow back. That's not one of our forms, but it is a nice way to kind of get to embody the coordination of the arms and the hands. The other thing that comes up all the time is how fast should I go? Now, when we're demonstrating, we often go very, very slow and I'm narrating through it. When you're practicing yourself, you're probably not narrating it. So how fast should you go? Let me give you just a little analogy that I gave the class on Wednesday. So consider you're stepping up to a table to pick up a glass of water and drink it. Now, you may approach the table quite quickly, but then when you pick up the water, you don't do that same speed to bring it up to your face. If you did, you'd spill it all over yourself. So there are changes in our day-to-day existence on how fast we do things. Bring that kind of metaphor over into the practice of the forms. Some of the forms will naturally lend themselves to being done nice and slow and flowing, and some of them it may feel better if you're going faster. Listen to your body. Your body will tell you what is the right speed. Maybe try some things out. Maybe try to go a little faster with waving hands, or try to go much slower and see how it feels. Test it out. There is no one right speed. The right speed is the one that works for you. So speed of practice, repetitions of practice. The other piece that we talked about just briefly in class that I'll just quickly cover here is how big are the movements. We talked a little bit about how far to step. Same thing with waving hands like clouds. keeping the elbows sort of in close to the body tightens up the movement a little bit. Now you can certainly do that movement much bigger. And if that feels better for you, go with that. There's many variations, and there's not one right way to do it. So test it out. What works for you? So how far you're stepping out. You don't need to step out very far. Just, if a full step is here, maybe you only step out halfway, stepping up, and then a half a step. They don't have to be big steps, particularly when we're going backwards, like fending off the monkey. You don't want to take too big a step because you're going to throw yourself off balance. So, just a few things about practice. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday today. I'm sure it was past Thanksgiving by the time you watch this, but enjoy the holiday weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.